Hello again, everybody. Zack Attack is here with my WWE Raw review for tonight, October 15, 2012. Over on tonight's Raw, which was, of course, in Nashville, Tennessee. Okay, Raw. Decent Raw with a decent ending. Of course, we found out who was going to face CM Punk at Hell in a Cell. And I'll make my comments about that decision when we get to it. And I'm not so keen on that match. Of course, it's the match that everyone feared would happen. The match that everyone did not want to see happen. But now it's actually happening to a man who, in my mind, is not ready. Now, on to first big of the night, involving, of course, the Big Show, who does have a match at Hell in a Cell himself, taking on Sheamus, apparently in Hell in a Cell for the World title. Of course, I said in my attack line, we didn't have any matches made in Hell in a Cell yet for this namesake pay-per-view, but apparently it probably is. So we kind of assumed the title matches would be in Hell in a Cell, but they weren't made official to be in it until tonight. So we had Big Show kicking off Raw, talking about blah, 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 blah. I'm going to beat Sheamus. I'm going to be new World Champion. People chanting 45 seconds. 45 seconds. Blah, blah, blah. Because Big Show had the title for 45 seconds until losing it to Daniel Bryan, who cashed in Money in the Bank, who ended up, ironically, being Big Show's opponent tonight. Kane is tag team partner, love him or hate him. Of course, they hate each other. Kane wanted to come out and help Bryan. The yes and no battle continued between those two as Bryan headed out alone to face off against Big Show. Now, it was an okay opener. Bryan went with the speed, literally kicking the heck out of Big Show with some killer kicks. But despite some decent offense from Bryan and off the top rope, high-risk maneuver, didn't pay off. He went up the top, got caught in a choke slam by Big Show. 1, 2, 3. Big Show gets the victory, giving himself momentum towards his match against Sheamus at Hell in a Cell. Delivering a message to Sheamus. Of course, he would be delivering his own little message to Sheamus later on, as Sheamus would be in the match against Wade Barrett. Now, Big Show was ready to beat the crap out of Daniel Bryan, but here comes Kane. Kane laughed, but then as Big Show was ready to cock Daniel, Kane got in and wanted to beat the crap out of Big Show. After attempting to choke slam Daniel, apparently Kane's like, oh, I laugh at him. No one else laughs at my partner, my buddy, as he likes to say. But of course, after saving Bryan once again, I'm the tag team champion. Well, we were going to find out who else going to face the tag champs tonight, but I'll tell you all about that later on. But there you go, Big Show beats Daniel Bryan. Kane comes to the rescue after Bryan was about to get knocked out by Big Show. So there you go. We'll see Big Show again get involved, like I said, in Sheamus' match later on in the evening. Now on to our next segment, which involved CM Punk. Now, of course, as after what happened last week, with, of course, him beating the crap out of Vince, that put Punk into a rock and hard place, as Paul Heyman was fearing there was a lose-lose situation for Punk. They was going to be under the hairs of Vince now they beat him up. So, indeed, Vince put Punk in a rock and hard place, making Punk decide between Cena or Ryback to face him at Hell in a Cell. Punk had a big poster talking about the poster for Hell in a Cell, him being portrayed as the devil. I'm not the devil, I'm an angel, blah, 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 blah. Of course, the crowd who's really booing him now, he's really, like I said, getting the heel heat now, especially during Nashville. Anyway, he was about to reveal his decision on who he was going to face. He tweeted he was going to make a decision. He was going to, but he pulled the, I need more time to make my decision, going back to the drawing board, making people wait for him again. But then Vince came out. Vince was there. He said on the attack line he was there. And he said, Punk, you blew it. I'm going to make your decision for you. Because Vince said, if you were going to make a decision, Punk, I am. So Vince was going to make a decision in a contract signing between, of course, either Ryback or Cena against Punk. We would find out Vince's decision on who would face CM Punk for the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell later on this evening in the contract signing. Now on to our next match, which was, I think it was Brodus Clay. Yeah, I think it was the Brodus Clay match. Yeah, Brodus Clay taking on Alberto Del Rio. Of course, Alberto official tonight. Another match is banned for Hell in a Cell. Him against Randy Orton. Of course, Orton got attacked by Alberto a few weeks ago. And of course, Alberto will now face Orton at HIAC. Not in HIAC, but still. Anyway, of course, Alberto was ready to send a message to Randy in an okay matchup against Mr. Clay. He was using his weight to the advantage. But of course, once again, as in every other Alberto match, Alberto focused on the arm and weakened the arm enough to put Brodus' arm in the cross-arm breaker. And of course, the victory for Alberto Del Rio. Of course, his ring announcer recovered from his RKO from Randy Orton this past Friday on SmackDown to announce Alberto Del Rio once again. So there you go. ADR. Alberto Del Rio beats Brodus Clay in an okay matchup, sending a message to Randy Orton, of course, for their match, which is now official at Hell in a Cell. Now on to our next match, a tag team encounter involving one of my favorite comical tag teams. Team Cobra, woo, Zack Ryder. I agree with many people on the internet saying that Zack needs to change the gimmick. He's one of two guys like Kofi Kingston who need to step their game up. And Kofi did step his game up a little bit this evening, which I'll get to. So Zack Ryder, one of my favorite guys, who, like I said, needs to get a new gimmick, at least make his gimmick more interesting. Teamed up with another guy who needs to be more interesting somewhat. Gimmicky guy called Santino Morella, teamed up against the Primetime Players. And I was fearing they were going to lose, and they did. Decent tag match, despite great teamwork from Zack and, of course, Santino. I've always been impressed with the Primetime Players, and their teamwork was excellent. The ending came, and, of course, Zack was delivered the Broski Brute on Titus. It was ready to deliver the Rough Rider, but Darren Young got involved, and Santino clotheslined Darren Young off the top. And then, with that distraction, Titus capitalized as Zack was ready to deliver the Rough Rider. Titus delivered the Powerbomb, 1-2-3 victory for the Primetime Players, sending a message to the tag champs. Of course, Primetime Players still fuming that they're not the ones taking on the tag champs at Hell in a Cell. Of course, they lost in the semis against Rey Mysterio and Sin Cara. The finals supposed to be tonight, which I'll get to in a moment. So there you go. Primetime Players sending big messages to the tag team division, delivering a decent victory over Zack Ryder and Santino despite a decent effort from both men. So there you go with that. And after that, after the match, for the third week in a row, here comes Team Jobber, who does have a name now. Heath Slater, Drew McIntyre, and Jinder Mahal came down. Once again beat up on Santino and also beat up on Zack Ryder. They now officially call themselves the 3MB. It's no longer a solo act for Mr. Slater. He's no longer the one-man band. He's got the 3-man band, 3MB as they call themselves, even crashing a local bar in Nashville, which I happened to be at when I was at the CMAs, because the CMAs were at Bridgestone Arena, where WWE was tonight. So there you go. Primetime Players win. And once again, Santino gets attacked by the now-named tandem of the 3-man band. Of course, Drew McIntyre, Jinder Mahal, and Heath Slater. See how this tandem's been attacking very well outside the ring, but we'll see what they do in the ring. So there you go. 3MB sending once again a big message to Santino Marella and also Mr. Zack Ryder. Now on to the next segment, which of course involved Mr. Dolph Ziggler, Mr. Money in the Bank, fuming that Ryback, a guy who I agree with him, does not deserve a title shot in my mind because he's not ready for the main event. That he should be the one in the main event. He should be the one being chosen instead of Ryback. Blah 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 blah. He would rather face Punk and win and beat Punk and then cash in Money in the Bank. on Sheamus, whoever is the world champion, and win the WWE and world title on the same night. But here comes David Otunga coming to say that he would like the shot against Punk instead of either Ryback or Cena. And then AJ came out saying, Dolph and Otunga, if you want a shot at the title so bad, why don't you face the guy himself you're talking about in a handicap match? So it's 2-on-1 handicap match. Dolph Ziggler and David Otunga against Goldberg. Ryback. Dolph got in first and got his ass beat first thing. Ryback delivered a nasty clothesline to Dolph. Dolph quickly tagged out to Otunga. And Dolph does what he likes to do best besides showing off. Leaving Otunga behind to get his ass beat by Ryback 1, 2, 3 with a shell shock. Delivering a message to Vince McMahon to make the decision to make him the #1 contender for the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell. We would find that out later on this evening. Would Ryback face Punk at the pay-per-view or not? Of course, Punk was not too happy about Vince letting his ego tell, and of course Punk did challenge Vince to a rematch from last week. And Vince said no to Punk, and he even challenged Paul Heyman to a match because he's like, Paul, you face me, Punk will get to choose if you win. So, but that match never happened. So there you go. Now on to our next match, which involved the United States champion, who I'm kind of liking his ability. I like him as a wrestler, decent wrestler. Toyo Cesaro taking on Justin Gabriel. Gabriel, the high flyer. Decent matchup. Gabriel was impressive in this matchup. He had some decent moves, but of course, Cesaro, I like his stuff. I've been liking his character. I've grown to like his character. He's a hard-hitting wrestler. Of course, he got his finishing maneuver on Gabriel. A decent matchup with, of course, Cesaro defeating with, of course, his big uppercut. His uppercut he does is just nasty. About as nasty as Trouble in Paradise, which I'll get to. Of course, I've been referencing Kofi. Anyway, of course, after the uppercut, named the neutralizer, as he calls his finishing move, 1, 2, 3 victory for Toyo Cesaro, non-title, of course. Cesaro's been impressive the last couple weeks to me. We'll see who is next to face versus Cesaro for the U.S. title. So there you go. Now on to our next match. Second match made in the night by the general manager. Of course, general manager AJ made the match between Otunga and Ziggler against Ryback. And Matt Striker was backstage, mad about an interview attempt. He tried to do the Team Hell No, but got attacked by both of them and wanted an apology from AJ, but inadvertently said the crazy word to AJ, forcing Matt Striker, a former wrestler, turned commentator, turned broadcaster, turned interviewer, to wrestle a match against Kane. Now, this is fucking stupid. It wasn't even a match. It was like a fucking segment. This was stupid. Striker tried to hug it out with Kane. He did hug it with Kane, but then Kane beat him up, gave him a chokeslam. 1, 2, 3. Quick match. Stupid match. It wasn't even a match. It was like a fucking segment to fill in time. Stupid. Stupid match. Stupid. Like I said, it was more like a segment. Because Brian and Kane had another argument about who's tag team champ. Blah, 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 blah. So there you go. Kane wins. Quick win. Stupid match. More like a segment. Let's move on. Despite Kane being kind of funny with the interview after he beat up Striker. Anyway. On to our next little event here, which was Miz TV. Now, Miz TV's been like a hit or miss ever since it debuted a few weeks ago. But I think Miz got a little better than Miz TV this week, of course, with his special guest, Kofi Kingston, who he will defend the IC title with against this Wednesday on the main event on Ion. Now, I agree with Miz here. I'm a Kofi guy, kind of, I like Kofi. He's a decent wrestler, but he hasn't done any. He's a mid-carder for life, in my mind. Kofi did have some high-profile feuds with Randy Orton back in 2009. I thought he was going to go some places. He has been a champion, IC champion, US champion. I thought Kofi was destined for success, but unfortunately he's been stuck at the same level. Kofi needs some balls. He needs to step his game up, and he kind of did tonight when he challenged Miz to an impromptu matchup, which would take place later on in the evening. And, of course, Miz TV would end up erupting in chaos. So, Miz, I think he delivered a better interview. He was really driving his own little pipe bomb on Kofi, laying it that he's a mid-card, and I mostly agree with Miz on that. I like Kofi, decent guy, but he's not that impressive to me. You know, he had his chance to be a big star, but he hasn't done anything really big yet. You know, he's like a highlight reel. He's like Jeff Hardy almost. You know, guy who's a high flyer, done some great moments, but not big moments like win a title. Although Jeff Hardy did do that later on. So Kofi Miz, after that little altercation with Miz dissing Kofi, which he kind of deserved, would end up in a match against each other as an impromptu little challenge match before their match at the pay-per-view. And that's pay-per-view main event. Now on to our next match, which is a rematch from last week. Wade Barrett against Sheamus, which I thought was a very good matchup despite Tenzai interfering in the end, causing disqualification. It was like they picked up where they left off. Another hard-hitting match. Once again, Barrett looked very good against Sheamus 3 weeks in a row. 2 years against the same guy that Sheamus made people look very good. Of course, he took on Sandow. Sandow looked very good against Sheamus. For the last 2 weeks, he's been taking on Wade Barrett. And Wade Barrett had the advantage for most of the matchup, being up Sheamus yet again. But with Big Show at ringside, Sheamus was ready to deliver a big message to, of course, his Hell in a Cell opponent, Big Show. And Sheamus is ready to deliver the white noise and the brogue kick. Big Show came down and interfered. He was ready to interfere, and Sheamus had the Texas Cloverleaf on Wade Barrett, but then Barrett got out of it. Sheamus was ready to go for a move. Big Show pulled the rope down, causing disqualification. He was beating up Sheamus. But Sheamus did clothesline Big Show over the top rope. Little payback for interfering in the matchup. So we'll probably see Wade Barrett and Sheamus again in the match. Hopefully be no disqualification. So there you go. Sheamus wins again by DQ after interference this week by Big Show. So there you go. Sheamus wins in another decent matchup against Mr. Barrett. Another Barrett advantage, but of course Sheamus came back until once again interference came to play. This time, like I said, last week it was Tenzai. This week it was the Big Show. Now on to our next match, if I am correct. It was the WWE Divas title being defended for the second week in a row. Last week, Eve defended the title against Caitlyn. This week, it was Layla getting a rematch after losing to Eve at Night of Champions. Little grappling going, a little grounding action, little ground play, grounding, not grounding, like ground technical wrestling, like amateur wrestling type moves from these two. It was like another typical silly Divas match as usual. And Revel was chanting, "This is awesome." I hope they're being sarcastic because that match was far from awesome. I know they're getting technical in the moves and little Greco wrestling type moves, little holds and stuff. It was just an okay matchup with, of course, Eve getting the victory despite Layla's foot on the rope, because the ending came when Layla was on the top rope. Eve tripped on a bad knee, and that's when Eve got the pin. But of course, like I mentioned, Layla's foot was on the rope. Referee did not see it. So Eve retained the Divas Championship, a beat controversial fashion. Now on to our next match, which we assumed was going to be the finals for the WWE Tag Team Championship Tournament, because the winner would be facing the Tag Champs Team Hell No at Hell in a Cell. Now, I said on the attack line that apparently Rey Mysterio got sick over the weekend and missed a couple house shows, and we thought that he would be well for the match tonight. However, he is not well. So the match between him and Sin Cara against Rhodes Scholars, the scheduled final, will now take place next week. So while we wait till next week to see who would face off against Kane and Daniel Bryan at Hell in a Cell, Rhodes Scholars did not get the week off, as they will be in a match against Primo and Epico, while they wait for Wade to get better to face off against him and Sin Cara next week. Decent tag match, very good couple. Great teamwork from both teams. The tag team division is really getting better. I've been kind of like seeing the progress of the tag division for the last couple months, and a couple of new teams have been coming out, because Primo Epico has been a decent team, but Rhodes Scholars is now kind of impressing me a little bit. Not as much as the primetime players have been impressing me, but Rhodes Scholars has really got their got their teamwork nailed down after a few weeks together. Of course, they got the victory despite great teamwork and offense by Primo and Happy Cow. Damien Sandow delivered his finishing move. It's like some fancy war thing to get the victory for him and Cody. Of course, sending big message to Sin Cara and Ray, waiting for Ray to get better for the final for the tag team title tournament next week. Now on to our main event, which was the challenge match between Miz and Kofi Kingston. Now, Kofi was going to make hard, which I agree with Miz on that sentiment. And Miz and Kofi delivered a decent matchup. Miz had the advantage for most of the match. We had to deliver a big message to Kofi for Sunday, for Wednesday actually. Kofi delivered a boom drop, and he countered the skull-crushing finale twice by the Miz. And Miz got his own little skull-crushing finale. As he was ready to go off the ropes, he ran, boom, got a Trouble from Paradise. Trouble in Paradise, probably the nastiest Trouble in Paradise. I've seen Kofi nail that move. That was the hardest hitting Trouble in Paradise I've ever seen. 1, 2, 3, Kofi wins. Sending big message to Miz on Wednesday. If he can make it Wednesday, he was still down. Doctors were checking on him. He had a little cut on his head. Like I said, I've seen Kofi deliver that move many times, but I've never seen it so hard hitting because Miz just didn't see it. He just ran into it. It was like bam! It was like the hardest hitting Trouble I've ever seen. So there you go. Kofi wins with a nasty Trouble in Paradise on The Miz. Non-title, of course. Will Kofi deliver that move again and win on Wednesday in the main event? The IC title? We'll find out. Kofi kind of stamped this game up immediately. I think Miz's sentiments made him angry. He really wanted to beat the shit out of The Miz. That's why he delivered a hard-hitting Trouble in Paradise in my mind. Now on to the contract signing. The decision had to be made. Vince, of course, called out Punk, Ryback, and Cena. Everyone had to say. Cena's like, I want the title. I want Punk to prove his legacy. Blah, 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 blah. He's been champion for this many days. Yada, yada, yada. Ryback just went to beat Punk's ass. And Punk needs to get his ass whipped. Cena got the whole crowd saying, feed me more, feed me more. And Ryback took it upon himself to sign the contract. So Vince said it was official that CM Punk would defend the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell against Ryback. Now, I said this on the attack line today. I hate to say this. Despite his injury and all, I would have put Cena because Ryback's not ready for the main event. You know, Ryback's going to beat the fuck out of Punk, especially if it's in Hell in a Cell. Can you only imagine what damage Ryback's going to do when he rams Punk against the cage? Everyone better get their doctor's gloves ready because the impact of Punk against the cage by Ryback may make him bleed. I guarantee you, Ryback's going to make Punk bleed this Sunday. And doctors need to be standing by because the impact that Ryback's going to give Punk when he rams him against that cage is going to make him bleed as harder, more than I am with my little... Anyway. So Ryback beat the crap out of Punk after the signing. And attempting Shell Shock last week failed. He did attempt Shell Shock again this week on Punk and nailed the finisher on Punk. Saying everybody feed me more. Well, it was more like feed me Punk. So indeed, Ryback, the big hungry, will indeed be fed CM Punk in a title match for the WWE Championship at Hell in a Cell. In my mind, a match that Ryback does not deserve. Seriously. Ryback just beats people up, you know. I know the fans are into him, and he's kind of getting a big push, but it's too soon. I felt the same way with Sheamus. When Sheamus debuted on Raw in 2009, being traded from ECW, and he got the title match against John Cena at TLC 2009, and Sheamus won, I thought it was too soon for Sheamus to be champion the first time when he was a heel. And he won it again, and I hated Sheamus as a heel. He was terrible. He's gotten better. He's gotten better since, you know. He's not the best, but he's better than... He was a decent heel, but he wasn't the best wrestler as a heel. He got better. A little better wrestling. But, you know, I felt the same way about Sheamus as I do now with Ryback. Ryback does not deserve to not only be in the title match at Hell in a Cell, I hope the guy doesn't win at Hell in a Cell. So I hope by some hook or crook, Punk will get the victory at Hell in a Cell. Maybe Paul Heyman will get involved. So it's official now. Ryback, CM Punk, for the WWE Championship inside Hell in a Cell at the pay-per-view of the same name in 2 weeks in Atlanta. It was okay ending. Not as good as last week's Raw, but still. What do you expect from a 3-hour Raw? Mixed bag, but of course, Punk, Ryback official. That is it for the attack line. Not the attack line. Raw review. My Raw review. See you later. Thank you all very much for watching. Then I've been attacked by the review from Zach. Thank you all very much. See you later, yeah.